uploaded to our YouTube channel within 48 hours. A copy of this presentation and recording will be made available to you via email within the same time frame. As I mentioned earlier, one of my colleagues was having issues getting in, so it is just me. It's very likely that I will have to respond to questions when the session is over. I'll cover what I can here, but what I can't, you'll get an email after this presentation. And so to be respectful of time, if I can't get to everything here today, you'll receive an email, which I mentioned. And at the end of this presentation, a survey window will appear. You are encouraged to complete this survey as your responses will be used as part of our continual service improvement effort. Um, at this time, I'm going to just read the VA and OSDBU mission statement with President Lincoln's birthday just a few days away. I think that we would be remiss if we didn't. And so the VA's mission statement is clear: to care for him who shall have borne the battle for his widow and his orphan. Simply stated, we are obligated not only to care for and support the veteran, but their loved ones as well. Here in OSDBU, our mission statement directly aligns with this thought through the prioritization of enabling veterans to gain access to economic opportunities through our policies and programs. Further, the strategic outreach and communications statement directly ties into the VA's 5 core values in that veterans and small businesses have earned our respect. So we strive to do everything with integrity and excellence, and we are committed to advocacy for small businesses through awareness of VA small business programs and resources. And now onto our agenda. As you can see here, our first lesson, we're going to just talk about what it means to be social. After all, social media, the operative word is social. Then we're going to cover what your why is and how that ties into this presentation. Next, we'll look at setting SMART goals, which is an acronym that we will develop out further. In lesson 4, we're going to talk a little bit about social media communications planning. And then finally, in lesson 5, we're going to look at the measure of success. So our objectives today, uh, basically by the end of this lesson, you will be able to define what social media is and kind of understand what your why is. Understand the necessity of using SMART goals. Going to learn the essentials of social media communications planning and recognize the importance of measuring success. It looks like a lot of information, but it really is foundational that is necessary for this training. It's my goal to stay on task and complete this training without belaboring the time. Let's get social. So before we begin, we're going to just look at some fun facts on social media marketing. I think we have to remember again that the operative word here is social. Social media is all encompassing of the ways and the modalities that we communicate electronically to share information and ideas. Thought it was very interesting, and these are based on stats from 2022. My source was thoughtreach.com. 49% of small businesses have found social media marketing effective for their businesses. Next, Facebook is leading the way among social websites with 82% of small businesses registered. I would venture to say that that number is a little bit higher now, followed by YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn with 73, 47, and 47% respectively. And then finally, I highlighted that 56% of small businesses have prioritized social media in 2022. And so by that statement, I would assume that that means that social media is now a line item in most small business budgets, as the same with a social media manager or, um, something. But it shows to me that small businesses or the small business community is starting to understand that social media is more than just a notion, but a necessity when it comes to marketing your business. So we talked a little bit about those statistics there, and I think that conversely, it's only fitting that we look at some common misconceptions as it relates to social media. Commonly, people believe that usage is free and that you need a presence on every social media platform. So first, we want to just look at free. Okay. While you may not have to pay to create an account in order to be successful using social media, there is a time investment. And whether you choose to hire a social media manager or you independently manage your accounts, whoever the responsible person is handling this task is spending valuable time creating profiles and managing pages. And I can tell you that social media management is a task in and of itself. And of course, the more platforms you're on, the more laborious it is. So, in essence, while it's not free, it does cost your focus, which is measured in time. And we all know that time equates to money. Another way to look at this is there's always a hidden cost. When we talk about having a presence on social media, while social media is a great way to promote your business, every site is not for everybody. Each social media network has a different purpose, is appealing to different demographics, and it's important to understand early and identify what your goals are, which we're going to talk about a little further, and make a conscious business decision which is best for you because here again, time is money. Okay, so now that we have a foundation, um, what's in it for you as a small, okay, someone's having a problem getting in. Okay, um, sorry. Okay, so now that we have a foundation, what's in it for you as a small business owner? People can say what they want, but rarely do we ever get anything without it being beneficial to us in some way. So now we're going to look at some ways that social media can benefit your business from the marketing side of things. And first, you want to consider that it's good for your brand awareness. This is perhaps the most obvious benefit of social media on for small business because you are getting your business name and information out there to a larger population in a faster and more efficient manner. A customer can stumble upon you on your social media account when they're looking for something else. Many times you're looking for something else and it'll come up in the search engine and you'll find yourself in a whole different page. If we're going to get into the weeds of social media marketing, then we would talk about the use of search engine optimization, which I was talking about earlier, or SEO, strategies when creating an online presence to reach certain demographics, locations, and how to show up in a particular search engine. But that's a training unto itself. The next benefit would be increased website traffic. This is the ultimate goal. After all, you're doing all of this because you want to increase traffic to your page. You want that PDM to determine that you are potentially viable enough to do business with. And then finally, customer service and support. As you build your business or you look at sustainability, social media is important to provide positive representation of your business. We all know that customer service and support makes or breaks your business. You can think about some different things and experiences, and we know how important that is. Anything I do, as most of you probably do, I go to reviews first. We know that reviews are very important, no matter if it's a restaurant you're looking at going to or a hotel, whatever. If you're going to do your due diligence before going, most people will look at reviews and see what other people are saying and make a determination from there. And so from a customer service perspective, the ability to assist is greater, it's easier, it's faster. Okay, there's people having issues getting into the webinar. Okay, my apologies. because people can reach you through a direct message or an email. So that's how it makes it faster. Okay, so to use or not to use. This was my little play on words, you know, Hamlet's to be or not to be. This is my to use or not to use. So, as I mentioned previously, I'm the Federal Lead for Communications here in OSDBU. These are the platforms that we use, with the exception of, actually, yeah, these are the platforms that we use along with other areas of VA to disseminate information. While the above 5 sites are probably most noted by iconic recognition, in actuality, there are over 100 social media sites, but you commonly see these because this is what most people use. And so, you know, to be or not to be, to use or not to use, that is the question, and certainly a business decision that you will have to make based on your business needs. Now, if you look at this slide here, you see, again, the source is Review 42. These are based on last year's numbers, but it informs us that, really quickly, you can read it. I'm not going to read through it. Um, 23% of 50 to 64-year-olds use Instagram. You can come down and you can see that 38% of individuals 65 and older use YouTube. Um, I just pulled these stats out here. The point is not to get into a conversation about ageism or anything like that, but basically to show you that in your planning, it's important to know your demographics because you could very well be targeting um, using the wrong platform to target your audience. So knowing this information here is very important as in terms of your social media planning. And of course, to not waste time. And this is why I said you don't need a presence on every single platform. Okay, so we'll move on from here and then we're going to look at knowing your audience. That was a good segue into knowing your audience. Now is a good time to look at the importance of knowing your audience because it will help you to identify what sites are best for you. Based on what you're trying to do and having well over 100 social media sites, you can waste a lot of time and money if you do not identify your target audience because you're just going to be everywhere. Your audience, if you don't know, is for the content. Who is the person or the persons that you're trying to communicate the message to? So now I'm just going to give you something to ponder. Small business owner, do you know who your audience is? Just think about that for a second. Do you know who your audience is? And if you don't know or you're uncertain, as someone looking to do business with the VA, I can tell you that your audience is the buying community within VA that we call procurement decision makers or PDMs. Now, it's a roundabout term. It's really kind of a round term, but PDMs really refer to a collective of folks from contracting officer to program manager, small business liaison, your acquisition and diversity manager. Everybody has different titles, but specifically, they're all coming together in one way or another to determine if your business is procurement ready. These are the people that you want amongst others to view your page. And it doesn't stop there. Your audience should also include other government agencies for the opportunities that they possess and the commercial industry professionals. So now that you have this captive audience, you've got them to your page. They're looking. What is it that you want them to do? And ultimately, the goal, once you get someone to your page, is to determine you're viable enough to do business with, that you are, viable enough to compete for the contracting opportunity presented if there is one. Okay, and so how this is done, you know, we talk about capability statements. This is that connection to your capability statement. This is done through a clear presentation of your capabilities, your past performance, your differentiators. Your capability statement should be clear. Everything that you do should be able to give someone a clear picture of your business journey. Lesson 2, what's your why? Okay. Now, if you have studied organizational management or leadership in any way, then you'll know that Simon Sinek is credited for this concept as he challenges us to start with why. Because there is a why to everything that we do. Why do we get up in the morning? Why do we drive the route that we take to work each day? Why do we, do the things that we do? There's always an answer to why we do what we do. So the question is why? And I'm sure at some point you may have thought about it, but if you haven't thought about it as it relates to your business journey, now is a good time to think about it. Understanding your why makes you more accessible to networking with people of the same belief. Your why statement is what you believe in, and that establishes your objectives. Your why is the reasoning behind why you do what you do. Collectively, it is what differentiates you from others. Your why is what will inspire PDMs and stakeholders to like, follow, and share your message, and ultimately do business with you. So I reiterate again, it's important to understand your why, not just in this context, but just in general. It's important as you will have more people that you can surround yourself who believe the same as you. You need this collaboration because as a small business owner, a lot of your success is going to come from collaboration. I'm not going to read this slide, but as a small business owner, your why is your bottom line up front. Why you do what you do. This slide speaks to the why of a few corporations. And as you read and think about the products and services that they offer, you can easily understand their why statement. And, if you have stayed in an Airbnb, you'll know that Airbnb connects people all over the world, where you can, look up on the site and find somewhere to stay, and they're connecting you whether you're here or in Europe or wherever. I thought this was very interesting as I was putting this together. Your why is what will keep you when your profit margins are low or when you're working with a skeleton crew due to lack of people resources, but the work remains at the same level while at the same time your family is vacationing and you're left in the rear because you can't get away. Those are the times you really start wondering if it's really worth it to keep tracking. And so these are just, some different common brand why statements. And this is what keeps you going when you sit back and think about it. So now we're going to, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, we're going to look at another important aspect of social media marketing, and that's collaboration. You may be asking yourself, why is collaboration part of this conversation? And so while you can be social without being collaborative, it does defeat the purpose. Social media is your net to cast wide and pull people in to get them to your page and ultimately do business with you. From a social media perspective, you want to collaborate with people who are, in the same um, okay, that's the message. Sorry. Okay, so from a social media perspective, you want to collaborate with people who share your message. You want people who are going to mention you on their page, who are going to retweet your information, who are going to like and share your content. I can think of several people right now whose lives changed forever because of shares and retweets. Um, it happens, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Collaboration also provides an opportunity to build an extensive network. I think it's human nature. Sometimes and especially since COVID, we tend to silo ourselves. And so while you can be successful, you generally can't live unto yourself. Collaboration provides resources, be it educational or financial, that you may not be otherwise open to. Serves as an encourage or a motivation. It reminds you that someone else may have been through similar and they can help solve problems and challenges with the touch of a phone. Overall, this helps keep you connected and helps you to remember your why. And it's a good use of your finances. Why invent the wheel when you could probably call someone who's done something similar and they can help walk you through what you're trying to do without all of the extra stress of trying to recreate the wheel. Setting SMART goals. Okay. So while many of us are familiar with SMART goals, I think it would be a disservice to assume everyone knows what the concept is. SMART is defined as an acronym for another widely used business concept. When you break it down, specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant, realistic, and time-bound. You may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with the social media communications plan? How does this tie into our training? Why is this relevant? Well, it ties into this training because it provides directions to your communications plan. It allows you to laser focus in and achieve the outcomes that you want. What is important to your business is very different to someone else's. You may have the same products, you may have the same services, but it is very likely that even though those things are, similar, what's important to you is different. So, what is important to your business is different to someone else's, and this is customizable based on your business needs and generally answers the questions of who, what, when, where, and why. And we're going to deconstruct this concept very shortly. So now we're into the meat and potatoes of the lesson. And to look at this from a practical standpoint, your objectives identify the end goals that you want. SMART goals merely add direction and clarity to what you're doing. Okay. If you have never done this before, it can be a little overwhelming. Um, what is the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So the best way to start with this is, if you haven't done this before, is look at it from what you've done in the past to determine what worked and what didn't. And from there, you should have a pretty good baseline of how to set your goals going forward. I'm going to break down each goal and how it can apply to your big picture. The good news is once you outline this in the beginning, you never have to do it again unless your objectives change. If they don't change, then it's just a matter of fine-tuning each goal until it provides you the information that you need. So these questions will help you to do that. When you look at specific, the question here is, does your goal clearly and specifically state what you are trying to achieve on social media? Again, an example here would be to increase your website traffic from 2,500 visitors per month, or or to double that, or to post 2 articles that are on the website each, platform of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever. Now, you may be successful with 1,500 visitors a month, okay? And so you want to ask yourself, why is this important? You know, and what are you really trying to accomplish here? If your goal is too big, try breaking it down into smaller increments, like by social media channel or metric. We'll talk a little bit about that further. When you talk about your M and being measurable, how will you and others. Know if progress is being made. Again, this is very important because you can do a lot of things that are really good, but not good for you. How will you know if progress is being made? One way you can look at this is through surveys, looking at your analytics and website traffic. In summary, this is a quantifiable goal, or simply put, it's shown in numbers. This goal will also speak to how you share, basically, what platform you use, that number based on your target audience or demographics. And we talked about that earlier. So using the earlier example of website traffic increased, 2,500 visitors by the end of the month and, so many articles posting on a page. How will you know if you've had 2,500 visitors? And what does that do for your bottom line? When we start talking about the different metrics that we look at, one of the things that we're going to talk about just very briefly because there's a separate training that's being developed for that, is, your analytics. You could be running a lot of analytics monthly that really don't make, any real sense to run for your business. So when we talk about achievable or attainable, your A speaks to whether the goal is, can you do it? You know, Largely it connects to your R, but we're not there yet. So here a question could be, does getting over the finish line depend on someone else? Using what you have available to you right now, is this goal realistic enough to be attainable? For instance, using my earlier example, if you're only averaging about 150 visitors a month and you're saying that you want 2,500 visitors by the end of the month, your question should be, how do I bridge this gap to make this possible? Obviously, there are some barriers that are keeping you from that number. So then you want to look at, what are the barriers that are in my way that are preventing this from happening? So when we talk about your R, your realistic or relevant, question here could be, what effect will achieving this goal have on business success? It's what's so magical about this number. A lot of times people tend to feel that likes and follows, and I don't know if that's because it's a commonly used term. A lot of people feel that the more followers you have, um, the more successful you are. But those followers should be able to be tied to something that you're putting out. If you can't pinpoint why people are following your content, because a lot of people will just follow just so that they can build their own numbers on their page. It should be tied to something that you're doing. And finally, your T, time bound. The T provides a deadline to focus on and work towards. This helps you prioritize what can be done in a day, vice what can be done in 6 days, 6 weeks, or 6 months from now. Ending with the earlier example we used all through this acrostic, how can you strategize to make this objective timely? If you're trying to build from 150 to 2,500, what can we do to get to that number by the end of the month? Social media communications planning. Okay. An effective social media presence requires a strategic plan or strategy. Your strategy brings to light what works and what doesn't. Trying to market your business on social media without a defined strategy is totally counterproductive. Again, we talked about time, we talked about money. You'll find yourself just posting for the sake of it, with little to no rhyme or reason, and as a result, seeing no return. Again, mapping back to our earlier thought, time equating to money. So we've talked about it and we've talked around it, but what really is a communications plan? So in short, it is a detailed plan that conveys important information to your target audience over your selected social media channels. This information varies depending on the information you want to put out. The plan is an overview of your marketing goals and the actions you intend to follow in order to successfully achieve those goals or keep your business on track. So tying everything together, these are the steps in a nutshell. Simple and easy. If you look at the graphic, it will take you through the steps that we covered, beginning with understanding your why, because that will lead you to understanding your business objectives. Everything we do has a why attached to it. Next, you provide direction to those objectives by way of aligning your SMART goals. And again, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And again, those SMART goals can be adjusted as you look at what worked and what didn't work. Now, you look at your data and you look at what your data tells you through your metrics, your surveys, your analytics to determine your target audience or the content for who the message is being communicated. And so when we talk about how to share your message, this is speaking to what the best communications platform is based on your demographics. Earlier, we talked about the different demographics, or I showed you, and the importance of knowing where people's focus is for your own personal business. You have to identify your publishing frequency, business decision based on manpower, resources, and necessity. Again, it's a fine line between enough or too much. Okay. So, here in OSDBU, I generally post 4 posts a day over each social media platform, and then there's information that is communicated on our webpage. Determine important events and campaign plans. Okay, this overlaps with the calendar. So because we are just one cog in the wheel here at Big VA, when I do our calendar, I have to consider the large VA calendar. I look at the observances and the days that they have on their calendar. I look at content from other places to share. I also consider our training that we have on the calendar and other messaging to be a part of the calendar. Now, presently, we're in Black History Month, and one of the posts that I post daily are, Black History facts. I don't do this just for Black History Month, but I do this for Women's History Month, for all of the commemorative months that are out there. That becomes part of the social media messaging for that month. Um, as a small business owner, it could be Small Business Month that you look at, special posts, like I mentioned, for a commemorative month like Women's History or Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month. Whatever you would want to identify, that's what you would include in your plan. Identifying your communications goals. Okay, so again, this is a business decision that's going to differ from business to business. Whatever that looks like to you, using my earlier example, a small business might want to, post something hourly for Veterans Day from 9 to 5 p.m. It's totally within your right to do so, but is it realistic? Is it necessary? That again is a business decision that you would make. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just created a full social media communications plan that is now, or you have the framework for a communications plan that you can begin to put together for execution. How you do this is entirely up to you. You can use an electronic calendar and Outlook. You can use an old-fashioned paper calendar. I still like to write things down, even though I use electronic measures. I like to write things down too. Schedule when you want your posts to go out, schedule launch dates, social media posts, etc. Here at the agency, I use a platform called Social Studio. It is an enterprise level program that allows me to put out messaging on all of our social media platforms with the click of a button. And I'm able to duplicate, post, and things so it will not take as long as if I were doing it on my own personal social media. Whether you want to invest in enterprise level information to do your things, that again is a business decision. But strategy is here. It's important. Data suggests that 80% of the U.S. population resides in the Eastern and Central time zones. Therefore, if your audience is an American consumer, you want to consider posting your content during times when individuals are most likely to be on social media and see your messaging. Generally, messaging that I post here for VA is anywhere between 7 a.m. and about 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Finally, analyzing your results or analyzing your data to determine the results of your communication plans will help you to determine if your strategy was successful. If so, great, you are on target. If not, this is where you want to stop, you want to adjust, and you want to make revisions. Remember, every step of your plan should map back to your objectives, and you should constantly, again, this is a business decision, be reviewing your benchmarks to analyze if your data suggests that you need to make changes to your social media strategy. You're going to need constant evaluation in attempt to move from better to best. So when we talk about, social media and inclusion, like anything else, too much of anything is bad. Social media posting is no different. You most certainly want to repurpose content because there's again really no need to recreate the wheel. There's nothing new under the sun. But you want to make sure that what you're posting is relevant and current. You can use hashtags and tag industry relevant people. But before you post anything, you want to find out or you want to ensure that it adds value to your page. It's easy to fill your page with fluff, and at the end of the day, you just have a page filled with insignificant things or stuff. So for that reason, you want to make your bottom line upfront known. Your bluff. Remove your fluff and state your bluff. Bottom line up front. That way, if a person doesn't go any further, they know exactly what your business is about and whether you are a potential fit for their needs. If you're not sure how much to post, err on the side of caution because less is better. As this is still a challenge for some, there are several methods out there that will help you decide on a content ratio. As it relates to small business, I found this method to work the best. So in a blog by Sam Milbraith for Hootsuite, he recommends the rule of thirds. And basically, as you can see here, a third of your content is about you and your business. A third of your content is shared from others, and a third are built on your personal interactions that build your brand. Now, you don't have to use this, but this is one of the different formulas out there that will help you to prioritize. You're certainly welcome to use this or none at all. The measure of success. So earlier I touched on the use of analytics to determine effectiveness. A business will have a variety of metrics to gauge effectiveness, like your likes, shares, comments, and followers. Again, compiling useless data is a waste of time. So when you talk about the different metrics, your vanity metrics, your actionable metrics, um, there should be a connection between your actionable metrics and your vanity metrics. Otherwise, again, you're just running, numbers that really make no sense. You need to be able to see what the connection is to your followers and your likes to your content, or you should. And ideally, as a business, you want a healthy mix of both types of metrics. So we've talked about and a lot about the importance of quantifiable data. Now let's look at ways that you can quantify information. I'm sure at some point you have probably seen these words. We're just going to go over them just a little bit to develop out so that when you see them again, you kind of have an idea of what they mean if you don't already. You can read this for yourself, but I will point out a few common metrics that will help you when you are tracking your social media. Again, this is a business decision that you all will have to sit down and decide in terms of what is important to you. Your likes, are when an audience member taps or double taps on your content to show they're a fan of your post. Retweets, shares, and reposts are when people post the content your business published on their profiles. Again, you want your message shared, your reach for obvious reasons. These are the people that have seen your content. Your impressions are the number of times content is displayed on someone's feed. And then mentions is, how many times people have referenced you um, on their pages. So there are applications out there that will give you the ability to run the reports that will tell you how many people visited your social media accounts, identify which accounts received the most hits and how long the person stayed on the page. Here again, in OSDBU, I use Google Analytics, which is a really comprehensive way. In fact, I don't maximize Google Analytics the way that I should. Um, and so there are analytics and surveys that will provide um, immediate real-time results. Okay, so here are some examples. Tracking social media analytics. After everything has been said and done, you need to determine which social media analytics tools you'll use. How you come to that decision is based on the information you want to capture. And so for me, there are ranges that we look at. These are popular choices. Disclaimer, the VA is not endorsing any of these products. They are included as part of the presentation for awareness only. You'll make the business decision which, if any, work for your business. And so these are just some that I came across. And so to summarize, we discussed social media and the importance of knowing and remembering your why. We discussed the necessity of smart goal setting and looked at examples of measurable objectives needed for your social media communications plan. We reviewed various tracking platforms to execute your messaging. Remember, everything in your plan should map back to your objectives. And finally, time is money, and money is time. Are there any questions? Okay. So seeing none, we are going to go ahead and close out. Okay. At this time, I'll read our announcements really quickly. We have a capability statement workshop. This is a interactive small group session. Only serious small businesses should attend. The prerequisite is that you have attended the How to Create a Effective Capability Statement training. And for our upcoming training, we ask that you would join us on February 22nd for the second segment of the Business Fitness Series, topic male breast cancer. We have a speaker, Dr. Larry Norton. oncologist from the Memorial Sloan Cancer Center in New York, who will be coming to speak with us from the perspective of stigma, detection, risk, and survival. And if you haven't already, please register, if not for you, then for someone in your life. This concludes our presentation. I do not have any notes in here, so I'm going to go ahead and launch the survey. Thank you again for joining us on this Valentine's Day. We hope that you found the information useful. Please take time to complete the survey at the end. Have a good day.